Puan Ambiga. Kalau tadi Pak Samad adalah co-chairperson, ini adalah chairperson kepada Bersih 2.0. Silakan.
Terima kasih tuan-tuan dan puan-puan. Salam sejahtera. Saya akan tambah sedikit. Pak Samad and I are co-chairs. We're both equal. The announcement for Bersih 3 has now officially been made by Pak Samad. Now you can see the reason why we, if I may proceed in English because we have some foreign reporters here. The reason why we had the presentation by the two eminent academics was to show you that the issue of fraud is continuing. It hasn't stopped. And we wanted to establish that one of the main reasons Bersih 3 is happening is because while the PSC was busily working on their report, the fraud was carrying on. Now, the information that was given to you is current. If I'm not mistaken, it's as of Friday. It's as of last Friday. It is current. So all these issues continue to take place, and unfortunately the PSC didn't go deeply enough into the issue of electoral fraud. So we are deeply concerned that they have dealt with it in a very cursory manner in the PSC report. They have provided for 45 days in relation to duplicate names, but they haven't looked at the other issues. That's the problem. Now, we, of course, gave our comments yesterday. We had certain issues we're very concerned about. We actually think there should be an independent audit of the electoral roll. Nothing short of that is acceptable. Because really, the PSC could have done that. They could have ordered an independent, complete audit. I know they had NEMOS do some kind of audit, but that is not sufficient. The audit that they did was really very, very confined to one area. It didn't cover the aspects that Chin Wat and Ken Ling have covered. So really, why did we appoint, why do we have a parliamentary select committee if they are not going to use their powers to examine and do a complete audit? So we were disappointed there was no independent audit that is being ordered. We were also disappointed with the manner in which they dealt with the postal votes. Yeah, undi post. You know that that is one of the most problematic areas. Everybody knows. Everybody knows undi post is one of the most problematic areas in relation to the electoral roll. But there was no examination of the present system. The only thing they did was to say they wanted to increase the numbers on postal votes, when actually what we should be doing is decreasing it. Because there's so much suspicion about postal votes. We should be reducing the numbers in relation to that. Now, also, nothing was said in the PSC report about election offences. Ingat tak, per se dulu, one of the things we kept raising adalah tentang offences di bawah Election Offences Act. Nothing was said about that. Isn't that serious? If there are people or candidates who are breaching the laws of this country in relation to elections, isn't that an important issue that the PSC ought to have addressed? But they didn't. And Bersih raised it. I'm talking about things that we actually raised. Now, there is also no mention, as you know, one of our demands is to stop dirty politics. There is no mention of that in the PSC report. So how can it be a complete report when it never went to the heart of one of the key issues for Bersih, in relation to Bersih's demands, which is we want to raise the level of the politics in this country. The PSC ought to have addressed that. And of course, one of the things which we raised, I know because we did, a few of us were there and we did the submission, was on international observers. Now, tentang hal international observers ini, baru-baru ini, Malaysia pun telah dijemput oleh Myanmar dan sebelum itu oleh Thailand. untuk to go as election observers. You know that, right? So we went. Are you aware we went on both occasions? We went, which means we believe in the system. We believe that international observers is a good thing. Why aren't we doing it for Malaysia? Why didn't the PSC deal with that issue? We raised it at the PSC hearing, but there is no mention about international observers. And in fact, well, you can see what happened in Myanmar. It's a credit that they invited. I mean, there were actually allegations of fraud there as well, allegations, but they invited the international observers. So when we participate in all this, why is it we are not able to see the wisdom in having international observers? So 3 focus areas for Bersih 3 will be, number 1, that EC should resign because they have failed the rakyat. They have failed the rakyat. Their duty is not to the government of the day. Their duty is to the rakyat. And they should really search their conscience to ask whether they have served the interests of the rakyat. We do not believe they have. And that's why we say they should resign. The second thing that we will put forward for Bersih 3 is that the elections must be clean before 13. Clean before 13. So PSC comes up, and we did agree with some of their recommendations. They were good. But why didn't they say that these must be implemented before the 13 general elections? Why? Because what does it mean? If, in other words, they have identified weaknesses, but they're not stipulating that the weaknesses must be addressed before the next general elections. What does that make the next general elections?
30 years.
So, to me, unless there is a commitment by the government, and there hasn't been to date, you saw what happened in Parliament yesterday, there's no commitment, as far as we can see, to clean up the elections before the 13th general elections. So that's another reason why Bersih 3 is happening. And final call for Bersih 3 will be for international observers, if the elections go on.